Welcome to Building Healthy Relationships, the 4 Habits podcast, helping you enjoy better harmony at home, thrive at work, and win at life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Andrea and Jon Taylor-Cummings, recognized authorities on the subjects of improving work relationships and cultures, as well as couple and home relationships.
Well, hello and a warm welcome to our guests listening in or watching somewhere around the world. Great to have you, and thank you for joining in our podcast and joining in the conversation we're having today. We have a special guest. Our guest today is Ian Soars. And I think when you hear his story, you'll know it's his name, but also a description of who he is, soaring like an eagle.
Absolutely.
Because Ian, it works at the coalface in bringing organizations together to support really vulnerable children and families.
Yeah.
And we're really looking forward to hearing insights on relationships, both in terms of working across organizations, but also working within family dynamics. So
I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Ian has a heart for families, and that will come out very strongly as we speak here. So I think we're going to be covering harmony at home, thriving at work, maybe a little bit. We're definitely winning at life.
Winning at life, yeah. So welcome, Ian. Welcome. Great to have you.
Andrea, Jon, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this. But as usual, we want to give you the proper introduction. So Jon's going to share a bit more from your bio to give context to our listeners and viewers.
Quick bio for our listeners.
Yeah.
So Ian Soars. Ian is the CEO of Spurgeons, an organization dedicated to transforming the UK one child at a time. So we're going to be talking about families and relationships, absolutely. So Spurgeons ensures every family has the support needed to flourish by partnering with local councils, churches, and communities. They prioritize children and young people in absolutely everything they do, creating family hubs where they're most needed, offering counseling, early years, and family support. As chief executive, Ian's goal is to use Spurgeon's extensive operational base to care for as many children and families as possible. Following the launch of their family hub strategy just last year, summer 2023, they focused on delivering holistic support to vulnerable children and families quickly and safely. Combining large contracts, church work, and fundraising efforts, Spurgeons delivers high-quality care to the nation's most vulnerable families through family support, counseling, domestic violence support, parenting interventions, and wraparound nursery care. They also develop free digital well-being resources for families to access directly and equip community leaders to deliver local support groups for families needing extra support. So that's a bit about Ian, a bit about Spurgeons, and as you can see, very much family-centered.
At the heart of everything that you do. We, just speaking earlier, we heard the passion coming out. So Ian, share a bit of the background driving the passion and the change that you want to see in the world. What's driving your focus? Big question.
Okay, so where do we start with that? It's a long time since somebody's actually asked me that question directly. So I think I better start from the beginning. I didn't have a great childhood. So, a very violent childhood, actually, with a mum with significant mental health issues and addiction issues. That wasn't just something that was past tense. It's something you kind of carry with you. You don't necessarily move on. And I wear some of I'm healed, but I wear the scars, so that's there. And it didn't, it doesn't just stop there, in terms of education, everything, it impacted everything. I didn't succeed particularly well at school or college. And so actually, really found myself in my mid-20s, sort of crying out to God, what am I doing? I'd lost everything. I'd lost my career. I was working on a building site and sort of lost not my faith, but my kind of, I didn't go to church or anything, and saying, what is this all about? This is not the life I'd anticipated. And I suppose really began a bit of a healing process over some years about addressing, stuff that had happened to me. And again, through some, we can unpack it if if it's right, but through major health issues, was really forced to look at my life, and God had been gracious. Career was going very well. I was working for a big outsourcer and recruiter and a director in that company, doing really, really well. But I really had this sense of go back for the the kids just like you. And I had this picture, if you like, of the old. Do you know the old 1960s Batman, Batman and Robin, and Robin would always
I
be
think that's
tying
before
on
our
a kind
time.
of a.
I think that's before our time.
I may have overshared
No.
there, actually. On reflection.
Yeah, no, we do.
I know we
Batman
do.
and Robin, we've heard about them.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, because you've never seen it, let me just. So anyway, there was this. For the record, I'm 54, about to turn 55. Just in case anyone's
For the
interested.
record, you're younger than us. Just to
Watching the reruns of this show, and Robin was always on a kind of conveyor belt with a big saw about to cut him in half, and then you'd hear the footsteps of Batman running down the hall, and that was a picture. Ian, they need to hear your footsteps, and so through just the grace of God, really just switched careers, and now head this incredible organisation that works with, supports and cares for families that are just like mine when I grew up.
Right.
My education never really did recover, so I'm very much, a guy from lived experience, hopefully implementing change for the good of families and kids.
Wow, amazing lived experience. It's amazing how, the pain in your past can become the purpose for your future. And that kind of sums up exactly what you're doing now.
And as you say, the pain the pain may go away a little bit in terms of the, as you say, you're healed, but the scars are still there. There's still
You remember
clear
what it's
evidence
like.
of where you've been, where you've come from, and that maybe just is what makes you the man that you are today in terms of the work that you do.
So what's the change that you'd like to see, Ian? What are you working towards, pouring your energies into?
So if I were to put one word on it, it would be restoration of family. Restoration.
Right.
Restoration of relationships, restoration of parenting, restoration of couple relationships, restoration within the family unit. I think if I were to put one word on it, it'd be restoration. I think what we're witnessing, we work with tens of thousands of families every year directly, and we partner with others and enable others to see more. But what we witness is often the fallout of essentially a kind of a warfare that's broken out with families, and there's many different of them. But the one I particularly would focus on is the one between parents. Whether they are living together or separated parents or co-parenting. The warfare that plays out, and I think parents are unaware of quite the impact that has on their children. Quite sometimes unaware of the impact it's having on them.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think sometimes when I look at the social media narrative around this, it's a zero-sum game. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. Dad's got to win, mum's got to lose, or vice versa. And I just think, it's not like that. That's not zero-sum games benefits no one. This is about actually flourishing. As you say, harmony at home. I would sign up to that. If that's the change I want to see. And the reason is, if you can change that relationship, you can change the family. If you can change the family, you can change the future of kids. If you can change the future of kids, you change the future of your grandkids. And if you do that as the song goes on, from generation to generation, you started a blessing. And that's the change. That's the change I want to see.
Wow. And I love your connection with what's being said on social media and how that's influencing the way people turn up in relationships in this zero-sum game where, it's somebody winning, somebody losing.
Well, even amongst the partners, if one wins or loses, ultimately it's the children who are losing out. Because you can only have a situation, as we share in some of the workshops that we do. There's some personality types who like to win generally, and it's fine to win once, twice, maybe 3 times. But if you're winning all the time, where does that leave the other party? Well, they're losing all the time. Well, how do you think that leaves them feeling? Well, if they're losing all the time, why do you think they're going to stick around?
Yeah.
And ultimately, if they don't stick around, then who loses that ultimately? Probably you do, they do, and the kids. So,
Probably you
so if there are any kids in the mix, so it's not ideal.
Tell us some of what you're seeing, Ian, because of this narrative about, the war that's going on between couples and parents. How is this playing out?
Well, I think firstly, we did a survey about a year ago on dad. So one of our, we have a big in-person footprint. Most of the work we do is in person, in churches and children's centres and with local authorities and so on. We have a big digital footprint, and we have a website called Dad Info, which is kind of like Mumsnet, but for dads. It's got a big reach. I think it's the biggest in Europe of its kind. And so we did a survey. It's got lots of, there's a big forum there and there's articles and so on, to help you with just about everything you can think of. But we did a survey about dads with dads who had separated. And the astonishing numbers of dads who, felt it was right, to separate from partners, who then didn't see their kids at all.
Wow.
For up to 12 weeks. It was something like 60% don't see them again, for 3 months. Wow. And no one knows this. So what happens is, what starts is as a, I want to live my life or whatever it is. I'm not trying to put any motivation on that. And there may be real reasons for separation and abuse and all those horrors. Right. But what happens is, a year on from that moment, and the bags are packed and you're walking out the door, dad's no longer there. And then you're in a situation of playing catch up for years as, kids have watched this, the narrative to them has been poorly handled. They're not seeing dad's not seeing them, it's normally fathers. And so I just think what we're seeing is because everybody's focused on their own life. If you read a national newspaper now, the relationship help thing, it'll all be about your rights, how you should work out your life, and not much context about, well, if you work out your life, what does that look like for your partner, and what does that look like for your kids? And often you might end up the winner, as you say, John, over and over again. But kids just don't win in this game. Now I think it's like 50% of kids wake up without dad in the home. That is not the end of the story. On their 16th birthday. Mm-hmm. That can be recovered. It can be recovered, but it can't be recovered by warfare. It can be recovered by relationship and grace and techniques and strategies and a lot of work by both sides of the equation. But that's often hindered because everybody's focused on this kind of social media warfare playing out about, well, he's done this, she's done that, I want this, she wants that, and it's a zero-sum game, and that doesn't work for kids. So I think that's what we're seeing. And let me just put some numbers on that. 1 in 5 children now, this is brand new, just hot off the press, according to NHS England, 1 in 5 children now have a diagnosable mental health disorder.
1 in 5?
1 in 5. Now, 20 years ago, it was roughly 1 in 10. And I was at a conference organised by a think tank where they had an American academic come over and they were speaking to us, and they said, the prevalence in America is about 1 in 5, and you guys are going to be there within 5 years. And this is probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And everybody's like, no, it can't get any worse, because it would drop to 1 in 8. And NHS then just published 1 in 5. That means in every classroom there's 5 kids who are vulnerable. The thing is, there's lots of reasons behind that. There's social media and all that sort of stuff, but a stable background, stable relationship with mum, stable relationship with dad, stable co-parenting, if that's the case, that can unwind a lot of those issues. And that's a practical outworking of what we're seeing.
Wow. But I think a cynic might say, 1 in 5 mental health. Have they changed the definition of mental health? Have they relaxed the rules? I'm just sort of trying to say, what might a cynic say there? But I think what they are saying is actually we've caught up with it. Maybe there are things that weren't recognized before, but actually there are things that we are, or conditions that we are identifying now that people are suffering that are having an impact. And I think that's the reality there, and that's why the numbers are blowing up.
The numbers are blowing up, and certainly, recognition is a big part of that. Referrals to CAMHS. So CAMHS, if you're not from the UK, is equivalent of an emergency room for children when they're self-harming or at risk of harm in some other ways. So it's called Children and Adolescent Mental Health Services. So they saw their referrals by teachers, professionals go up by 50% in 1 year. I think that was in 23. So the thing is, it's not just like a load of children being, I think I've got mental health.
Exactly.
There is, genuinely professionals are going, And the thing is, to get referred to CAMHS, you really need to be in trouble. And see a rise of 50%, and obviously lockdown had an impact of that. COVID, long COVID, all that sort of stuff is there's a huge amount of school refusing going on now. So that's now, kind of commonplace in many towns and cities. All of this is impacting into it, but just dialing it back, where's the root of this? Or if you want, where's the solution to this? I think harmony in the home goes a long, long way. If kids are anxious, what do you think makes them anxious?
Well, you said
if kids are self-harming, why? harmony in the
Yeah.
home.
Well, you use the word restoration to say, that's the focus of what we're trying to do here. What are some of the things that you guys are doing, as Spurgeons are doing, and the work that you're doing there to help bring that restoration into homes?
So, again,
How much time do we
a
have? I
lot
know
of
you're
people
going to
doing
have
a
a
lot
long
of
list.
work. So, predominantly, so we deliver family hubs. That's what we do. So, what is a family hub? A family hub is a place where you and your family can come to receive the love and expert care you need when you need it. So by that, it means that you can walk in, you might be suffering from a domestic abuse situation at home. Your teenager might be self-harming. A younger child may just not be sleeping. You may have no relationship with your children and you don't know what to do about it. There may be issues in your family over um, uh, school attendance, that kind of stuff. But the point about Family Hub is you walk in and you tell your story and then someone says,
We
we
can
can
help.
help. So that's what we do. We do it mainly with local authorities. So a lot of our family hubs are commissioned by local authorities, but increasingly we are partnering with local churches and other faith groups actually, but predominantly churches to deliver family hubs through them because the pressure economically in the UK is very high. Local government is struggling to meet the needs of children and families right now, and so we need a plan B, and plan B needs to be as good as, if not better than plan A. And so
Yeah.
we're partnering with churches to do that. So that's what we do.
And just going back to what you said, that the stability at home is what will help to create stronger children mentally, emotionally, financially.
Yeah.
What are and you when we were speaking earlier, you spoke about the compromise and the challenge the word compromise has in relationships. Do you want to tell us that bit again? How can we help strengthen relationships and understand the difference with compromise?
So this is really, if I were to give relationship advice, and my wife and I, we have a lot of folk come to us and say, we're not relationship experts. That's not our thing. I'll leave that to you two and the four habits. But when they come, one of the things that we've learned is that sacrifice rather than compromise is the way forward. And what I mean by that is if Nikki wants blue and I want yellow, we don't choose green. Green is a compromise. Now neither of us are happy. One of us gives ground to the other. I doubt it's 50-50. I think a lot of it is down to who needs the win, if I can use that most, who needs that most at that time. And then the other one, says, well, this is important to you. Let me just give this to you. It's not done under grudge. It's not done under, well, you owe me one. It's not done under, well, you always get your way. It's really done under, I just gift this to you. That's sacrifice. Just saying. And the thing is, what I find unexpected about that in our marriage is that often when you give ground easily and with grace, you end up the winner. I didn't get yellow, but my wife is so over the moon with blue that she surprises me with whatever my heart's delight is, and just the joy of that, that both people can come out winning. It's going back to the start of this, it's not a zero-sum game, and I think that's a joy that we've lived out. So again, full disclosure, married 32 years this year, so there's an
You're
awful
ahead
lot
of
of
us.
sacrifice. That's a lot of sacrifice in there. Oh yeah, we got married as babies. We basically, we met as she's still a teenager when we met, and so we got married. We met, and we were married a year later.
Okay.
So,
And you're still
and you've been sacrificing
still
ever since.
making it work.
Yeah, still making it work. Yeah, you know the truth. Everybody on this podcast knows the truth. There's a lot of pain in there. There's a lot
100%.
of mistakes. There's a lot of hurt and sorrow. In all these things because we both had big jobs when we were younger and we couldn't have kids. So the kids came a lot later for us. All of that stuff. We walked quite a few complicated walks. We now do have children, so we've got 3 girls, twins of 17 and a firstborn at 19. So but we were together 13 years. So I can't even do my maths. Anyway, we were together some time before that. So there's a lot of pain in that stuff. But at the end of it, with all the grey hair, which you two are witnessing firsthand, our testimony is, well, if you love them, give it up. And it might be a career. My wife and I have both given up careers for each other at different points in the past. We just, this is your turn now.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I think we're that story resonates so strongly with us, because very similar stories our audience have heard us share this before. For us, it was 7 years that we had to wait for our children to come along. But again, all the valleys and mountaintops on that journey, lots and lots of those. It's impacted me differently. I've lost my hair. Yours has gone grey. Mine is gone.
But I think that's such an important point to bring out, that to do relationships well, you have to, it's not about 50-50. It is about 100, being all in and being willing to bless, to give, to sacrifice for the well-being of the other. And when you're both busy doing that for each other, that's what makes it work. And that's what helps to create the harmony at home, when somebody really has your back and is willing to sacrifice for you.
I just want to jump in there, because I think what most people don't get is when, at that moment where they are sacrificing and giving in to the other person, letting the other person have their way, all they can see is that I've lost, they've won. But the point I love that you made there is actually there's a blessing that sometimes comes back from that, where the other person is so delighted, they're happy to shower you with blessings. You're like, where did all this stuff come from? I'm receiving that all day long. I thought I'd lost, but actually I've won as well. And if we can get that message across to people, I think that's a really, really powerful one.
It's where the relationship wins.
Absolutely.
Rather than each individual.
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
Well, no, I was going to move on from that and just say, it's good talking about some of these good stories, but I know, as you rightly said, there's been some pain on the journey. Just looking at either relationships around you or your own personal journey. Any challenges that you want to share with the audience here of, yes, they're challenges, but actually here was this is how we dealt with them, or here was some things that made those help the people get over those challenges. Anything you want to share in that space?
Yeah. So one of the things, although I do my job, if you like, as chief exec, I actually work with families as well. Less now than I was doing maybe a couple of years ago, but actually in the room with the family, I've been in people's homes and supported them through, because as a parent support worker, they don't necessarily know who I am, or my actual job title. They just know it's Ian, come to help. I do drop-ins for parents, in other charities. I volunteer for other charities when they're trying to care for families and so on. And one of the questions I'm asked most often is it too late? And I would, what I say to you now is what I say to every single person. It's never too late. Right? It's never too late. If you haven't got a relationship with your kids, it's never too late. So my story is about a relationship with a mum with her son. And he's younger than, perhaps some of our listeners' kids will be, but the principle holds good. When is it too late? And so he was he was still in primary school, so in primary education, so just not quite 10. And essentially, his mum and his dad were in a relationship, but mum was raped, and as part of that, inside that relationship, and obviously they broke up as a couple, but she fell pregnant, and child just looks like dad, just looks like dad. And so she found it very hard to hug him, to engage with him physically in any way. We were caught in because the social services were worried and so on, and we put a worker to go around, knock on the door and say, how can we support you? Is there anything we can do? We didn't know this full backstory. And the thing is, when people are fragile, when families are fragile, they know. It's not like you have to point it out; they always know. But it's really difficult to ask for help. And so I just want to be a shout out for everybody who's ever asked for help, including myself, because parenting's a hard game, and I've had to ask for help. I'm not the guy who's got it right all the time, and I often share those stories as well. But she asks for help. We come in and there's no food in the house, and so we just literally, the worker grabs her by the hand and, in an act of love, just takes her down the local food bank, gets some food on the shelves, and someone says, and then how can we support you? But that beginning, instead of focusing on the fail, looking at how do we get around you? How do we make this easier for you? You know, I think that's a big secret. And she begins to talk about how do you build a relationship, you know, and for your listeners, you're probably aware, you know, about attachment. Attachment is the bond between a child and a parent. It lasts all through life. It's not just for young kids. It's something that, you know, we can live in the fruit of, you know, into our, well, I've still got a great relationship with my dad, so I would say my attachment with him is pretty strong. And so, you know, she began to talk about relationship and foundations of relationship and just small things that they could do together. Mum still couldn't touch son. But a few weeks later, they held hands in the park for the first time. And I don't know about you, but that might just seem like a really simple thing. But to go from unable to touch to holding hands and hugging was a huge, huge leap for that family. And what it means is that boy has a chance to become the dad that, you know, he's never experienced himself. Because, you know, we had someone go in there, instead of passing judgment, just loved them and began to go on a journey with them. And so, I just think, you know, when is it too late? It's never too late. You know, and I've worked with parents whose kids are 25. Believe it or not, I've done a drop-in. People sit opposite me and say, oh, you know, this is my situation. How old are they? 25. Like, well, that's a first. I remember it. That's a first. But is it too late?
It's
No,
never
it's not
too late.
Never too late to show the love, and it's the love that makes a difference.
That and that's just such a powerful point to share, that, you know, and one of the things that we go on about, or kind of message to the world, is there's no forum where we learn how to do relationships well. Where do you get those skills? You just have to kind of absorb it from what you see modeled. And if what you've seen modeled isn't healthy, then you'll end up with unhealthy habits. How do you learn the skills? So the work that you're doing to help people understand how to interact better, how to show more love, how to do relationships well is so powerful. If you were to think of, I guess, relationship advice, we touched on it before, but relationship advice that you've had shared with you, and or that you'd like to share with the next generation, what would that be?
Well, I've probably given you my best shot on.
We're forcing you to go deep now, big deep.
I know you have loads in there, and you can do it both for, you know, interpersonal relationships, and also your wisdom in working with these organizations to help deliver change for families.
I do one. I'll do a personal one maybe, and then an organizational one. There's an old saying. It's been written, as they say, what you confess with your mouth, you will believe with your heart. And I tell my wife and my kids I love them all day, every day. Now, there have been moments where I'm sure my wife has looked at me and said, I'm not actually sure I love this guy. And it's easy to say out loud, but we're really careful. We don't mention the D word. We never have. We were like early 20s, and we said, back to back, we face this world. We will not separate. We will not divorce. We will care for each other and commit into each other. And we started a habit of saying, I love you. And there are moments, you know, when you're exhausted and tired and the kids are running all over you, and you know, you both changed physically from the athletes that you were when you were 18 or whatever. And you know, I say, I love you. The reason why is what you confess with your mouth, your heart will begin to believe. And I would just encourage people, if you're looking at your family, your kids, your parents, your partners, well, you know, this is looking pretty rocky right now. Start saying, I love you. I love you. Your heart will follow. It takes time. It's a discipline. But it worked for us. In terms of partnering with other organizations, there's an easy win here, or simple win, but it's really maybe hard to do. But I speak from bitter experience. I was a chief exec of a charity, and we were, you know, financially under pressure. And another charity, Spurgeons, was really interested in acquiring the work that we did, but of course it had a chief exec, and so I couldn't stay. And I kind of, over the months of working this out and you know, beginning the legal and the complex journey towards being acquired by another charity, I came to terms with, is this good for me? Is it good for the organization, or is it good for the kids and families? And as a Christian organization, does it glorify God? And I realized that I had to lay my ego down on the line here. It's not about me. This is about what is right for kids and families and glorifying God. And essentially, I learned a principle, that was ultimately, I thought, was going to cost me, my job, potentially my mortgage and all that sort of stuff. But we get acquired, and long story short, I'm now in that job, as the acquired charity chief exec. But I carry the same principle now. It's not about my brand, Spurgeons. It is not about Ian Soars' brand. It is about, how do I bless the organization that is in front of me? How do I gift them? So we give away. So the resources that we develop, you can check it out on our website. We have a digital family hub. There are courses that we've developed that are ours. We don't sell them. We give them away for special educational needs, for separated families, for disordered eating, everything. We give it away. You want to use it? Local authority, church, charity, you can use it. When we partner with another organization, we often foot the bill, for events and so on, just to bless them, particularly if they're struggling financially. Why? Because that it makes partnership easier. We don't insist on our name being above the door. As a Christian organization, our God's name is above the door. But if another charity needs their name above the door, then let them have the name above the door. Put your ego, where it belongs. And I think that's probably is how we partner so well with so many organizations, is by saying we prefer you.
Wow, I'm hearing a really humble heart there,
and a consistent theme. The same thing that you described in the marriage. It is about putting down your ego and being willing to give and to bless, and in that is how you find yourself being blessed from that place of generosity. It can only create more generosity anyway. But in this day and age where, the theme is what's in it for me and how can I get more for me, that's so countercultural, but clearly very, very successful. And I love what you said about, confessing with your mouth and waiting for your heart to catch up, because I think it goes even deeper. When you're confessing the thing with your mouth, that I love you, you are reminding yourself of the commitment that you made to partner with somebody and to do the journey, even if it doesn't feel particularly loving at the moment. Don't know if you necessarily even like them at the moment, but saying that I love you is the commitment to go the distance and trust that it will change. So really powerful tips there. Ian, is there anything that we haven't asked about that you'd like to touch on or share from your experience? And also, is there anything our listeners can do to support you in your work or connect with you in your work?
I think there's nothing new, I don't think, I'd want to add. But I would like to say, I just feel I'm just being really prompted in my heart just to speak very directly and say it's not too late. And somebody, I suspect some of your listeners are saying right now, it's too late. It's too late. It's not too late. It's never too late for love. And love is not a gushy, gooey thing. Neither is it just a form of, personal expression. It is, as you just so beautifully just said, Andrea, it's a commitment. And if you commit in, we've seen prisoners restored to families. We've seen abuse victims forgive the abusers. We've seen amazing things. If you go on our website, you'll see some of these things live. It is never too late. It is never too late. And I just feel that somebody needs to hear that. In terms of supporting us, get in touch. I have a really easy email, and I give it out regularly, and no one ever emails me. Well, I get 100 emails a day, but never from these personal things. I think everybody thinks he can't really mean it, but I do mean it. So Ian@spurgeons.org. Ian@spurgeons.org.
Okay.
And if you want to support us in any way, if you're interested in hearing about our digital resources or how that might work for you or your organisation, I would love to hear from you. And just so you know, I monitor my inbox. It has come to me. I read the emails.
Okay.
So if there's any lateness coming back, it's all on me. But I say that because I just feel that we're in a world that just needs to to get to work together more for the good of kids and families. That's just where I'm at right now, and love to talk to other people who think the
Yeah.
I
same
love
way.
that heart. And if people wanted to just find some of the resources that you mentioned, you said there's some digital resources. You also mentioned Dad Info.
Yes, it's to go onto Spurgeons.org. Just go onto the main website, and you'll see a digital family hub. And that there's a video there, just plays. It's about 3 minutes long, and it'll point out lots of the things that we've got and where to find those courses. If you're a dad, in fact, if you're a mum, right? We're not, we don't check. There's this, go and have a look at that info. Particularly if you're a separated parent, that seems to be a really big strand in there. And we just want to, there's loads of information about how you co-parent, how the difficulties your kids might be facing, and all of that stuff. Some of the big questions about sexuality and so on, answered frankly in really plain, simple terms there. So yeah, it's a free resource. Go and be blessed.
Oh, that's
Love it.
just amazing. And I think I'd love to end on the note of what you've been saying all along. It's never, ever too late.
Yeah.
Always hope, always a chance to do something and make the relationship better. So Ian, it's been amazing, as we knew it would be. Thank you for sharing your heart and your passion. Thank you, more importantly, for the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And
Restoring.
may you be blessed as you seek to bless others.
Yeah. Love that
Thank
word,
you.
restoration of
I
families.
received that.
Yeah. May that restoration be bountiful out there. In families across the nation. Oh, one other point or question I was going to ask, actually, but because I know you guys are UK focused, but clearly our audience is international. Are there any organizations you're aware of around the world who are doing the sort of work that might signpost people to, or are you happy for people in the US, say, to contact you here in the UK to say, look, I'm looking for help?
Yeah, just contact us. So yeah, we actually get funding from the US. That's. But as it happens, one of my colleagues is part of an international family hub network. And they've got people in the US who are doing similar work to us. So if you email me, I can put you in touch with Catherine, who oversees
Amazing.
that.
Wonderful.
Well, we'll put all the links and
in the show
emails
notes,
and so on in the show notes as well, so nobody misses out. But thank you so much, Ian.
Yeah.
Been a joy just having this conversation with you. Keep soaring.
Keep soaring. There you go.
I'll do my best.
Thanks for being with us.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Mate. Good to be with you. Take care. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you did, and you want to hear more, the best thing to do is subscribe. Then you'll never miss an episode. There's a new one every Friday. You can stay connected with us on social media at The 4 Habits for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and to participate in discussions related to the show. We always love to hear from you. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on your preferred platform to allow us to reach more listeners and help people around the globe radically transform the way they do relationships so they too can enjoy better harmony at home, thrive at work, and win at life.